everyone, Storm Raven here, and today I'm going to be making lamb shanks, but I actually have to season this up and marinate it overnight, and it's going to suck up all these seasonings and goodness so that I can braise it tomorrow. The thing with lamb shanks is it's a very, very strong flavor, and you want to add a lot of spices and things to kind of mute that down a little bit. And it also is kind of this sinewy, stringy piece of meat, so you really do got to marinate it overnight so you can break down those fibers and tendons and things. So as you can see, I got some olive oil in the bottom of this bowl. I actually like to use a Ziploc bag for marinating, but I don't have one, so I'm using the bowl. Now I want to add some smoked paprika, some pepper, that's like mandatory. I'm going to add some bay leaves. I'm going to put in some garlic, some fresh rosemary in there. I used to have like a rosemary plant that I kept around for this purpose, but it died, which sucks because I had it for like 2 years. And I got some cinnamon. I know that is a weird ingredient, but trust me, with lamb, you really, really need it. I think we'll do some Italian seasoning. Can never have too much seasoning. Put a little pinch of spicy brown mustard, a ton of balsamic vinegar, organic if you can find it, just tastes better, I think. And the last ingredient being a little bit of cognac, some Remy Martin cognac. So I will get this marinating. Okay, it is the next day, and as you can see, it did absorb a lot of the liquid. There was still quite a bit left over, so it doesn't absorb as well when you have to use a mixing bowl like I did versus just using a Ziploc bag where all that liquid's pressed up against it. But it did absorb quite a bit, and I'm confident that it will still turn out really, really good because I did add a lot of liquid in there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put this in a glass baking dish with some olive oil so it doesn't stick. We're going to throw it in the oven at 450 degrees Fahrenheit for about 20 minutes. And what that's going to do is going to sear the outside of that fatty skin, give it a good crisp, kind of lock all the juices in so that we can braise it for like the next 2.5 hours. Okay, now I have chopped some little baby carrots, just like a good handful is fine. I finally diced some green apple. I use that a lot in like sauerkraut soup and heartier dishes because it's not sweet at all. It brings like a little bit of a tang and just a nice flavor. And I think it'll do really well in this sauce for the lamb, because essentially what we want to do is cook down all these veggies in butter and kind of make a roux, a sauce out of it that those lamb shanks are going to braise in. So over here I got my celery, garlic, you can't see it, there's about 6 cloves. We really like garlic in this house, and 1 whole sweet onion. My knife cuts, I apologize, they're not super chef-like. So I have some butter here. I don't know, I'm eyeballing it. What do you think, 2 tablespoons about? Looks like 2 tablespoons to me. It's probably more, but we already got our olive oil getting hot in the pan. So I'm going to add that. We'll let that get melted down. We'll throw our veggies in here and cook them for about 6 minutes until they're nice and soft. And don't forget, when you're the chef, that you are entitled to have sips of wine in between. So those lamb shanks are done braising in the oven. I went ahead and went 30 minutes instead of 20, and the smell is just amazing. You can see all that good char it's got on it, and all those little yummy black bits you see is going to all come up into the sauce when I pour it in here for braising, and that's all flavor. I threw a couple of sprigs of fresh rosemary in there because you can see that oil in the bottom is still sizzling. Kind of give that a little yummy fried rosemary flavor. Yep. Whole house smells really good now. Alright, so these vegetables have gotten nice and soft for me. I went ahead and added a couple more tablespoons of fresh butter because what we're going to do is make a roux out of this. So as you can see, all that butter and olive oil goodness is kind of cooked down with the vegetables, and we're going to add a couple of tablespoons of flour. Now you kind of want to do this like half and half. You don't want to add it all at once. You don't want a big thick lump. And you just want to stir that really well and incorporate all of that, because we don't want raw flour in our roux, right? So just kind of mixing that around, making sure all of it's covered by butter. And don't worry if you can obviously see some in the pan. Just make sure it's all getting coated in the vegetables. I'm going to add the rest of it. I did add some Lowry seasoned salt, some cracked black pepper. And now we're just going to cook this down. Again, because you really don't want any raw flour in your roux. And I wouldn't say it needs any significant cooking time. I mean, as you can see, I'm just kind of making sure all my veggies are getting coated with that butter, or excuse me, the flour rather, and that I don't have white flour really showing anywhere. All those little bits are going to pull up when we add our liquid, which we're about to do, because this is pretty much cooked down now. All right. And now I'm going to add, I have a carton of vegetable broth here. I'm going to just start by adding about half of it. Just eyeball it. You know, it's not an exact science. At least not for me. Cooking is about, you know, what you feel from the heart. Unless you're just not very good at it, and then maybe, you know, yeah, look yourself up a recipe. That's why I'm showing you guys how to make this stuff, because metalheads, we eat good, we like to cook. I know a lot of us are in the restaurant industry. I know I used to be. So this is kind of a fun thing for me to show y'all some of my recipes. So as you can see, all that butter and flour has mixed together really nicely to create that roux. And a roux is kind of just like a fancier word, I guess, for gravy in a way. But we want it a lot thinner than that, right? Because this is going to cook down. This is going to go in the oven for 2.5, almost 3 hours. But I also want to add some balsamic vinegar. Again, use your best judgment. I tend to use a lot in here because it cooks down. Oh, and it makes this lovely, sweet, like kind of, I don't know, grapey, deep flavor. It's not weird. I know it sounds weird. It's not. It will cook down. I know vinegar can kind of be a strong scent and people don't like it, but that's why you got to cook with it and get all that strength out of there and just leave all that flavor behind. And then it gave it a nice coloration to it as well. So again, just use your judgment. Like for instance me, I'm going to add a little bit more stock to that. And just as a little finisher, I'm going to add a splash of Cabernet Sauvignon wine. Couldn't hurt, right? Add that depth of flavor. Now after I take this off the heat, because it really doesn't need to simmer hardly at all because it's going right back in the oven, we're going to put it over those nice, delicious seared lamb shanks. We're going to pop that in the oven at 350 for about 2.5, 3 hours. And I'll show you what it looks like when it comes out. I have some potatoes boiling here on the stove. I got some Lowry seasoned salt in there, which is why it looks a little bit funny. But these are going to boil for about a half hour, and then I'm going to drain them and smash them up with some sour cream, some fresh butter, some garlic, salt, and pepper. And these are Yukon Gold potatoes, which have a very mild flavor and thin skin. So I did not peel these. My husband and I, we like a little bit of that peel in there, keep it a little rustic, still tastes great, and hey, that skin's really good for you. And here you have it. Here's the final result. I mashed those potatoes with a little bit of vegetable stock, about a 1/4 cup of butter, and I also used a couple heaping tablespoons of sour cream, as well as some garlic, some seasoning salt, some black pepper, and then I did a little balsamic vinegar reduction, which I don't know if the video quite does it justice, but I kind of drizzled that over this whole thing as well. So you guys let me know what you think, if you want to try this recipe, if you've ever made lamb shank before, if it's your thing. But I tell you what, as Satanist metalheads, we know how to eat. Have a good day. Bye.